Helen, for 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes, sir. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Chair. Minister Freeland, how many jobs, Canadian jobs, will be lost with your job-killing oil and gas cap?
I was under the clearly mistaken impression that we were here to talk about the TMX pipeline, a pipeline which we got built and the Conservative
It's very fair
government
that a
didn't.
minister comes to committee.
And since we're
open to
talking
sharing.
about jobs, I'm
Ask
glad
whatever
to
we'd
point
like,
out
especially being in natural
35,000 jobs were
resources.
created during the building of the pipeline.
Okay,
And
well,
that's great.
how many jobs will be lost with the emissions cap? I just need the number, Minister.
There will be tens of thousands of jobs created as a result of the emissions cap. If you just
I
look
just
at
need a number.
the
How many-
Shell
how
Polaris
many jobs will
project,
be
the
created?
Strathcona project, the Pathways project that we all hope will move ahead, all the jobs that were created through the implementation of methane reduction
What's
technologies.
the number?
This is an enormous opportunity that will create tens of thousands of
Tens
jobs
of
in Alberta.
thousands.
You
What's
see
the
it with
number of
Linde,
that?
you see it with Air Products, you see
Minister,
it with Dow and
Minister,
the first
what's the
net zero
number?
petrochemical facility. You see it with the Imperial Biofuel facility.
I just need
My
the number.
goodness, I mean, go and have a look at what's
I
happening on
just
the
need a
ground.
number. If you don't have the number, just say so.
Tens of thousands.
Okay, so you're saying tens of thousands of jobs will be created. Deloitte has estimated that 110,000 jobs will be lost in Canada due to your job-killing oil and gas cap. Are you confirming today that tens of thousands of jobs will be more than 110,000 jobs that you're going to drive away from Canada? Yes or no? I just need a yes or no.
Look, the oil and gas cap is intended to incent economic activity and the long-term competitiveness of the oil and gas sector while doing what we need to do to address the climate issue. It is
So
very
I'll take that as a
disturbing
no.
for
I have a
me
very
that the
limited amount
Conservative
of
Party
time,
of
so I'll
Canada
have to go on.
increasingly seems to be
So,
a group of climate deniers.
Minister,
At the end
your-
of the day, you have
Minister,
to actually
your
address that
non-answer-
issue and address it in a manner that's going to create economic opportunity. Your questions are
your
ridiculous.
non-answer-
At the end of the day,
Point of order. We have Ms. Stubbs. We got a point of order. You know what? Once again, colleagues.
I wouldn't deign to
Ms. Stubbs,
lecture anyone about
I want to answer
decorum,
your
but
point of
just for
order.
your
If I could ask you to
consistency.
just pause. Thank you. Colleagues, once again, question and allow time for an answer. Just so, Mr. Allen, you have time to ask your question, and the minister has time to provide a fulsome answer to your question. So if we can
Okay, I'll take my
work
time
within
back
those
here.
parameters,
Fair
I
enough.
think everything goes
I'll move
smooth.
on because
Go
the
ahead.
minister obviously, with his non-answer, proves that he admits that the jobs will not be recovered, the ones that he's going to lose with this emissions cap. So I'll move on. And I think it's important to note that it's my constituents and Albertans who are going to be impacted the most with this oil and gas cap, that they know how many jobs will be lost because most of them will be out of work in that field because of you. Minister Freeland, you preside over one of the worst GDP per capita growth since the Great Depression. Can you confirm that you've done an impact assessment that what this oil and gas cap will do to your deficit?
Okay, there are so many untrue statements embedded in what you've said, so I'm going to have to go after them one by
I just
one.
want an answer to my question. Have you done an impact assessment
I actually wasn't given
on
a chance to
GDP
answer.
and GDP per capita growth? I just need that answer. I didn't
So,
ask for anything else.
once again, Mr. Allen, you've asked your question. I want to give the minister an opportunity to answer your question. Minister Freeland, please go ahead and provide an answer.
It is absolutely appropriate for me to make clear the falsehoods embedded in your question. It is not okay for me to just drive by those. So I'm going to go through them systematically.
Just the GDP per capita, is it not the worst?
If that was the only
growth since the Great
only
Depression.
question you wanted to ask, you didn't need to offer all of the false fluff to begin with. So let me go after the fluff.
It would be nice for you to
So,
answer
let
so
me
we
go-
could move on.
So, Mr. Allen and Ms. Freeland, if you could get direct and answer the questions that he's asked and provide an answer. Floor is
I'll
yours.
be direct. Thank you, Chair.
Well,
So I'll move on.
no. Hold on, Mr. Allen. I want to give Minister Freeland a time to answer the question. So, Minister Freeland, briefly provide an answer
Briefly,
to the
please.
question.
I simply can't let the falsehood stand. So first of all, you began by saying something untrue about what my colleague Minister Wilkinson said. Minister Wilkinson was very clear
answer.
that we believe that our policies are both bringing down emissions and bringing good jobs to Canada and
Which is not
Canadians.
true. Okay,
We
Minister,
believe
since you're
we
not going to
can
answer,
and must do
I have about a
both.
minute left.
In terms
I'd
of
like to move on.
GDP, since we're here
Minister,
to
the
talk
dollar-
about
the
no, you
Canadian
didn't
dollar
actually.
is at
You didn't order. You
$72.
didn't
So we
actually
have a
allow
point
me
of
to answer.
order, Minister Freeland, and I know you're going to the GDP answer, but I have a point of order from Ms.
Yeah, I would
Stubbs.
just note the bizarre spectacle of extremely powerful elite ministers of the government of Canada, of a G7
So,
country,
Ms.
constantly
Stubbs, that's not a point of
constantly
order.
shutting down and cutting off both women member of parliaments and an ethnically diverse
So,
a member of parliament. So
Chair,
perhaps these guys
I-
who love to play
gaslighting.
identity
Okay,
politics
so,
could just answer the question.
Colleagues, first of all, Minister Freeland is also a strong woman in the government who's here answering questions.
Yeah, I certainly don't think she has a problem with the
Let's
heat.
not target members based on their gender or their ethnicity. I'll ask everybody to, let's everybody just take a
wanna
deep
play
breath and
identity
tone down a
politics,
notch.
that's how it works.
So we can get back to the issue at hand today. That's the
Chair,
Trans
I only
Mountain
have a little
Pipeline
bit of
expansion.
time.
You do, Mr. Helen, have time.
And so
I
I'd like
have
to
it on
move on to
hold.
my next
But
question.
I do have a point of order I have to
Right.
address.
I'd like that
Minister
time
Freeland, a brief. I want to give you a chance to answer on the GDP brief, and I'm going to go back to you, Mr. Helen, on the GDP answer you're just about to give, and then we'll go back to you.
Okay, TMX, which we're supposed to be here to talk about, is adding 0.25% to Canada's GDP. That is important. In the G7, Canada will have the second strongest GDP growth this year, and the IMF forecasts that we will have the strongest GDP growth next year. And it looks like we're achieving a soft landing after the greatest recession since the Great Depression.
Minister,
That's something we
just
should all
to
be
correct your
celebrating.
falsehood, you said 0.25% of GDP. In fact, your gas cap, oil and gas cap, is going to take a 1% hit to our GDP, according to Deloitte. You can shake your head all you want, Minister Wilkinson, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
Now, the dollar is trading at $72 right now. In your budget, you had projected WTI would be at $78. Currently, it's at $71. In the PBO recently said you will blow through your projected budget by $7 billion, which we know because either you can't do math or you can't manage or both. Now, can you please confirm just the number?
So
How much
time
worse
is,
will
Mr. Helen,
the deficit be?
Time is up, and a brief answer, please.
What will the deficit be?
Mr. Helen's question was incoherent and it wasn't clear. He said the dollar is trading at, I think he meant oil, but he
Canadian dollar is
meshed up
trading at
his words in
$72,
his
Minister.
word salad. So it's really impossible to answer a question which is so
Because you don't want to answer,
incoherent
because you know
and
how bad the
encoding.
answer will be. Thank you.
Okay, time is up.